journalists. And the problem with journalists are, as they become older and get more gray hair, they begin to take themselves very seriously. And so they start using words like serendipity and clairvoyance. If you watched English news television in 2006, believe me, you would need a dictionary to see it. It was so complicated. It was about swings and polls and statistical analysis and this and that, and it did not connect with the people. So we needed a breakthrough moment. For us, the breakthrough moment, I think, was 26/11. By now, we had tasted blood. And then one day, a paper came in my hands, which was just one piece of paper, which was written Her Majesty's Government of Her Highness Great Britain Government, etc., Department of Treasury. There were 3 paragraphs that a group of Indians came for the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games. They seem to have done some accountancy problem. British are very polite, they don't say bribes and all that. There seems to be a sort of some accountancy issues related to them, and a figure of £225,000 needs to be explained. This money has been given to a car company. So the British were baffled. You've come to organize the opening ceremony of the Commonwealth Games. Why have you given a taxi company somewhere in London £225,000? They didn't realize this standard Indian practice. Give the money to a taxi company and take back the money in rupees. So I had this piece of paper, it was $225,000. But we'd mastered the art of hype. So we sat down and we said, we'll do this story today and we'll call it something. So somebody said, what will you call it? And never known for understatement, I decided to call it the Commonwealth Games Scam. I had no papers. I'm sorry. I had absolutely no papers with me. All I had was this small amount of money which runs into a few lakhs. But I was always told, I'm an army kid, I was told, never, everything in life you may lose. Don't lose your confidence. So say Commonwealth Games Scam. And then typically we had 3 paragraphs. So we were being cheeky. We said, we'll say part 1 today, part 2 tomorrow, part 3 day after. And the typical lines, it gets bigger tomorrow. Real expose on Thursday. Have you seen lines like this? You've all done it. Actually, I had nothing. So I did the story, but with a great amount of prophetic predictability, I said, बहुत कुछ आने वाला है. And clairvoyance. So I got a phone call from people, well-wishers of Mr. Kalmadi. And they said, ये तो आपने बहुत बड़ा कर दिया. I said, हाँ. आपके पास सब है? सब है? I said, yes, सब है. सब पेपर है? I said, सब पेपर है. सब कुछ है? I said, absolutely. I remember the phone call, exactly this. And if Mr. Kalmadi ever realizes who called me, he will commit suicide because these most trusted people were calling me. And they said, सब कुछ है तो फिर हम भी कुछ भेज देते हैं. So I said, भेज दीजिए. So the next morning I walked into office. Now, don't quote all of this, please. No. People think I'm Tintin, some great investigative journalist. The next morning I came into office, and it was amazing because headlines were breaking. Suresh Kalmadi calls emergency press conference, this, that. And the bundles of papers started coming to my office. And the bundles of papers, believe me, like 1,000, 2,000 pages of documents, which had not been gone through by CAG or anybody, and they needed some deep analysis. If I had to go through it, it would take me days. Suresh Kalmadi's press conference started and he was hysterical. He was hysterical. It was in his office here, about 5 kilometers from here. And he said that I will sue, I will take them to the courts, I will sue Arnab Goswami, do this, do that. And I kept wondering what the hell, And I kept getting phone calls, ye tel ka ho gaya, ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. Then I started I started opening the papers after that. Because I began to wonder why he's reacting like that. So till date, when people tell me who broke the Commonwealth Games scam, I say it's Suresh Kalmadi. But what happened with the Commonwealth Games scam is that there was a door which was not yet opened. It gave me an opportunity to open the door. Sources and people who had stories to tell suddenly felt there was somebody who would tell it. somebody would take on the system. Suresh Kalmadi represented the deepest part of the system. The money was not made by Kalmadi alone. The money was shared and taken by people. We all know who they are. I'm not their favorite person. But it opened a door. And when the door opens, believe me, in journalism, the door swings. I can never forget the 6 months that followed. I am not the greatest investigative journalist. But what I had at that point of time was that I lost all fear. Papers came to me. You remember the Adarsh Kargil scam, Kargil for profit, Adarsh scam. There was the 2G scam. Asir Vatam, who comes on my program, gave me the papers. There was the Aircel Maxis scam. There was another scam which involved ISRO. That time they told me, don't, you're going too far. ISRO is a holy cow. Don't touch the space scientists. I said, how can you not touch? When the levels of clearances of finance, each person at each level is the same person. So the same person clears the amount, then moves up to he's the CEO, he clears the amount. The CEO is also on the board of directors, he clears it. He's also on the Space Commission, he clears it. Right up to PMO, it's the same person. So one person is sitting and moving from one desk to the other and clearing all the money. And large amounts of spectrum of this country are being given. I began to understand papers, money, transactions. I didn't understand these things. And for 6 months, there was an overwhelming surge around one issue in this country once again, which was called corruption. This is much before a marketing genius called Arvind Kejriwal came in. He did nothing. He did nothing. He's the biggest fraud. He says, I'm just saying it openly, but I'm saying it because I told Arvind this. I said, what did you do? We broke the scams. You came in with a slogan, you called it India against corruption. We covered you, but what was your contribution to the fight against corruption? Where were you when we were getting the threats? Where were you when we were being taken to the cleaners, when the politicians took us on, when they said, you'll lose your jobs, we'll take you down, we'll shoot you, you won't be around, we'll finish you off, because it's not nice. When this happens, when things happen in a rush, it's no longer small games. This is thousands of, tens of, thousands of crores, political prestige, biggest name, politicians, highest people. I had 4 cabinet ministers come to Mumbai, want to cut deals with me. A case was filed against me for hundreds of crores of rupees. A minister would fly the next day and say, oh, poor you, you're going to lose your job, your owners will lose, faith in you, there's going to be so much pressure on you. And let's cut a deal. And I, for the first time, then saw the depths to which corruption had sunk. Because I left Delhi as a reporter. I never encountered it. But those 6 months of hibernation in Delhi, when I would go back and forth, I was not realizing the impact of what we did. But these 6 camps, one after the other, created an overwhelming mood in this country, which Anna Hazare, Arvind Kejriwal, Kiran Bedi in the March and April of 2011 benefited from. I have no qualms about their benefiting from it. But they are not the ones who fought corruption. We were the ones who fought corruption. Me and my team of people in their 20s, we fought corruption. We took on the system. We put those mics. We questioned them. We took on Raja. We made Raja quit. We remember when he was not quitting. And I remember the entire media in Delhi stood against me. They were not with me then because they wanted to be the good guys. They would go to the ministries and say, he's the bad guy, sort him out, give us the advertising. We are the good guys. He's the bad guy. You stood out there like a loner, like a crusader at that point of time. I did not intend to become a crusader. I'm not a crusader. But when life puts you in the fortuitous situation, when you have papers before you, do you tell the truth from the lie? And what is journalism? It is simply telling the truth from the lie, the black from the white. It's as simple as that. There are no gray areas. People say that I don't have nuances. How can you have nuances in this country? If you speak in nuances, you will underwhelm your own journalism. If you speak straight, then the story can be told, but you have the guts to stand up to it. I remember on the 13th of February, there was another piece of breaking news, and that breaking news was that Manmohan Singh, after 6 months of being under pressure from us, had finally decided to speak. Manmohan Singh speaking itself was breaking news. But he was speaking, and what was most shocking and horrifying for all of us is that he had decided to go live. And worst of all, I got a letter from Racecourse Road saying, you are hereby invited. In my life, I have never been inside the Prime Minister's house. I was invited. My hands were shaking. I said, what the hell? And I remember I entered. I had broken 6 camps, and they told me, tum mat jao. They don't like you. I said, but only the editor is invited. And I was struggling. What questions should I ask? I had 26 questions. And just before going in, I told someone that, tell me exactly which of these should I pick up. Should I pick up 2G, Devas, ISRO? Which will be the most high impact question? They said, you just be yourself. I said, fine. I remember going in. There were 14 to 15 editors in the room. As I entered the room, one media owner proprietor tells me, oh, so you've joined the high table. I didn't know what that was, but apparently in Delhi there is a high table of journalism where big people sit with big people and talk about big things. And I was the disruptor. I remember Pranay was sitting there, Pranay, all of them. And I was number 13 in sequence to ask the question. I saw the unraveling of Indian journalism before me that day. Because there was no question. Everybody was advising the Prime Minister. Everybody was great. Everybody was intellectual. I was the most unlearned, unreformed person around. Somebody said, Mr. Prime Minister, this year the monsoons have been a little down. There's this much less in agricultural production. I think you should focus on these areas. The Prime Minister would say, very, very good idea, excellent idea. Please take note. And this conversation went on, and somebody gave advice on economy, foreign policy. It was so convivial that it was shocking. Not one of them asked a question. Go back and see the tape. Not one of them asked a question on corruption. The country was burning on corruption. This is 6 weeks before Anna came into the fore. Every television channel was talking about corruption. In that room in Racecourse Road, there was not a single question on corruption. It was as if they were on a different planet. Editor number 11, and it will be instructive, see the tape, actually smiled and asked the Prime Minister, Mr. Prime Minister, if you don't mind, I'll ask a second question. I said, yes, now the question on corruption will come. He said, what is your message for Sachin Tendulkar? Because the day earlier, he had scored a double century. And again, some convivial chatter, smile, everything nice. And actually, nobody was interested in being at that press conference. You know what happens in these cozy clubs? You're not interested in the press conference. You are interested in the 2 minutes you will get after the press conference. Pradhan Mantri ji, aapko alag se milunga main. The cut deals, you want to meet separately. You will not get to meet separately if you ask the tough question. When my turn came, I had a whole sheet of paper. I said, now I'm going to ask on Devas ISRO, and I started my question. And Harish Khare was the media advisor to Manmohan Singh, and he said that he stopped me and he said, you cannot do an inquisition of the Prime Minister. This was all going live. And I said, I need to ask the question. And I asked him, and he said, the Prime Minister gave that quote about the compulsions of coalition politics. I followed up with the third question that you can compromise with anything, but you can't compromise with corruption. And the Prime Minister was cornered at that point of time. He didn't know what to do. He was looking at me. He couldn't avoid me. He's decided to speak. He was going live. And I remember the moment, please see the tape, when he leans down for the first time. And he pulls out a piece of paper. He looks at the 4th page and starts reading from a written statement, which means he was ready for that question. It's just that no editor was ready to ask that question. It is as simple as that. When I'm telling you this, when you talk about news being an agent of social change, news is an agent of social change if you think that you can take it to the finishing line. There is no story that is a story if you can't finish it. 81 days back, we launched Republic. And we launched Republic with a series of tapes, which showed a conversation between a convict called Muhammad Shahabuddin, a man so devilish and evil that when people speak out against him, he drowns them in acid. What you would see as the Mocambo actually exists. He drowns his victims in acid. And this man was having a conversation instructing Lalu Prasad what to do, which police officials to transfer and what to do. On the phone, he's sitting in the jail and calling the chief minister, or whatever he is, one of the coalition members, and telling them that you do this to the SP, the DIG is not listening to me. It's a very happy conversation going on between them. I know that Lalu tried to put pressure on us, but day before yesterday, we took it to the finishing line. We didn't give up. We did 11 exposés after him. I predict today we'll take the Sunanda Pushkar case to the finishing line too. Whether it's a story of crime, whether it is a story of corruption, whether it is a series of scams, or whether it's simply a human interest story, I feel the only point in doing a story today is if you take it absolutely to the finishing line. This country is full of stories, and there are many things to be told. I took you back to 2014. I had a fantastic time after that. We broke a series of stories, and then one day I decided that I had to break out and launch a new channel. And we sat down and we called it Republic. For me, news as an agent of social change is simply this. When you can take the most unexpected story and surprise people with the consequences of that story. Not be the gazetteer of India. Not just report. That form of reporting is unfair to the people of this country. Neutrality of that form defiles journalism. You cannot be neutral. You have to take a stand. You cannot be the Wikipedia of media. You must understand that the smallest change can make the greatest difference. And I will end with just one story. There was a film made by Amir Khan. I forgot, it was Amir Khan production called Peoply Life. Now, I feel horrified when people like Amir Khan try to lecture us on journalism. There was a shot in that film where he denigrates journalists and he says there's a piece of turd and there's somebody interviewing the piece of turd and there are 24 OB vans which land up in a village and they make a big deal of a story that is rural and they make it a national headline. Amir Khan was doing a caricature on the media. The truth is completely different. The truth is this story. This is the real story which Amir Khan should be doing a film on. In 2011, 1 year before Nirbhaya, a 16-year-old girl was raped by her employer where she was working as a domestic help, and when she tried to complain about it, she went to the police station. She ran free of the clutches of her master and went to the police station and wanted a case filed. And the person in the police station turned around and said, "Which house are you from?" She said, "I'm from the house of this MLA." He said, "MLA from the BSP?" He said, "Yes." She said, "Yes." He made a phone call to the MLA's brother. And the girl was immediately put in jail. There were 14 cases filed against her, from theft to this to that. She was in jail. Not prevention of authority. The cases were filed against her. So this 16-year-old girl went into jail for complaining against being raped. That's how the system works. When we broke the story, it came out some way. We magnified the story. It was another Prince moment for us. We said we'll go to the finishing line with this story. We'll take it to the finish. And we sent OB vans, 15 to 20 OB vans went there. The first Mayawati denied it, then they attacked the media. By the third day, the MLA had gone missing. By the fourth day, Mayawati was on the back foot. By the fifth day, the MLA appeared. He was arrested. By the sixth day, the girl came out. It was massive. Till now, please, students of journalism, go back and see the story. It's from Lakhimpur Kheri in Uttar Pradesh, in a place called Bandipur. This Bandipur rape case is tremendous because this girl, 16-year-old girl, defied the whole system with the backing of the media 1 year before Nirbhaya, challenged the rules in this country. But that's not where the story ends. The story ends in what happens in the social impact after that. This girl then forms a group and they call themselves the Nagin group. And they wear black. And they go from village to village attacking and taking on other people who carry out the sexual exploitation of other women. There is no there is no theory in this, but there is something that must have, that young girl of 16 and 17 must have felt so strong and so emboldened. She must have had faith in the system. She must have seen the faith of the media behind her, that she took it upon herself to be the system and the agent of social change. So if you ask me today in summary, I will only tell you this. I've shared a few stories with you. Many stories are going to be told in the future. Republic is going to open that door wide open, because we don't need anyone's help now. We're not dependent on the politicians or the netas. We freed ourselves from them. That's why we launched Republic World, which is a very aggressive digital beam on which we have 10 million page views. It's one of the most aggressive digital products. We don't need anyone anymore. We are free. All of us can be journalists. For me, the true social impact of media is in a mix of many of these stories that I'm telling you. Somewhere the story of Lalu having to face the truth that you can't get away. Somewhere the story of the fear in people that why are they opening up the Sunanda Pushkar case? Because when I say on night that one night I will reveal the name of the person who put pressure on the director of the forensic department of All India Institute of Medical Sciences, I will reveal the name of the person. I know that person is watching and he knows I'm going to reveal it. He knows that day will come. This is our track record. We don't do anything till we take it to the finishing line. Because we know that the fear was there in Suresh Kalmadi when he faced me in the one-to-one interview. That's when the rules of journalism change. Because we know that we've tasted blood with Raja being forced to quit. Because we know we were the ones, not Arvind Kejriwal, who took on the scamsters and took them open today. And truly, I promise to you today, there is for a free media in this country, not any story that cannot be told. The only people who put limitations on the media are the big shots in the media. It's never the young reporter, never the idealistic journalist who comes in. It's the person at the top who's compromised. What did the Neera Radia tapes tell you? That the levels of compromise are easy and quick. When I say Lutyens media, I don't mean the geographical territory of Lutyens media. I mean people who have been compromised. Why did we become journalists? Did we become journalists to become rich? Did we become journalists to become famous? Did we enter this profession to just report blindly on the untruths of other people? Or did we genuinely enter this profession to make a change? We're the post-reforms generation. We actually joined this profession to make a change. And we promise ourselves today that we go back to our core. For me, in 2017, it was about going back to the core. I have gone back 19 years in my career. The day we launched Republic and the day we broke the Lalu story. And believe me, for 3 days before that, Lalu was constantly calling me. He got to know. He was trying to reach me through people. I don't know his intelligence mechanism. But what he didn't realize was that we got him stung again when he called us. One day I will put out that sting also. If he speaks too much, I have all his recordings about his son with me. But the truth is beginning to be told. I think we live in a wonderful age. Next 10 years, beautiful time for the media. And not only will we make a change in this country, with your help and support, with friends, with people who care for us, with people like Ashish who believe in us, all of us, we can come together and make a change. We will make this media truly free. And 3-4 years from now, I want to share a little dream. If we came this far, next time you come to Mumbai, come and see my studio. It's in the Bombay Dyeing Complex. It was an old cotton mill. 73 years, it was a cotton mill. There were only bats there. And we opened up the mill. In 3 months, we built the state-of-the-art studio that we have there right now in Delhi. In Mumbai. My dream is that by 2020, latest, before I gray too much, by 2020, I want your help, everyone's help. We must launch a global platform from India. We have to compete and beat the BBCs and the CNNs. We have the power to. We have the ability to. Believe me, nobody can tell the story of America better than somebody editing the story in Lower Parel in Mumbai. Believe me, we have a neutral voice, and there is no voice from Asia. The first time I spoke about this was when I got into a heated exchange with people from BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera. It was in Moscow. We ended up having a big fight on the outlines of a conference. And I told them, I said, we have a higher consumption of media, we have higher awareness of media. But we are a democracy, we speak English, we have technology on our side, and we are a young country. Why can't we make a global impact? Should we or should we not? I'm asking you, should we not have a global platform from India? I think it will happen. I think if we've come so far. And lastly, the reason it will happen, if any reason, and I know I've crossed the time limit, Vasvi, I'm stopping right now, but you didn't give me a time limit, so I'll take 3 more minutes. I'll tell you the reason why we will make it. News is an agent of social change. 10 women stand outside Haji Ali Shrine every Saturday, Sunday, with placards saying, give us equal rights, give us equal rights. We make the story so big under the hashtag right to pray. Along with women not being allowed into the Shani Shignapur shrine, my last big story in the previous channel, and women not being allowed into Sabrimala. The right to pray. The right to pray movement, which started in January 2016, became so viral and so powerful. Suddenly women who had not even thought, sometimes women take it for granted. Oh, women don't go to Sabrimala. Oh, women don't go to Haji Ali. Oh, women don't go to Shani Shignapur. But why? What kind of a democracy?